Hi, I'm Abigail, and this is The Rise and Fall of Grimes, and a deep dive into her new brand, Hot Girl Fascism. Because she's not like a regular fascist. She's a cute fascist.
My God, you're friends with this Curtis Yarvin person.
Like, I say a lot of dumb stuff.
This is a full reflection of how wealth, power, fame, and influence can absolutely destroy people. As of a few years ago, Grimes was completely different than she is now, which is fine. You know, we all grow and change and everything, not necessarily into... Anyway, keep going. She built a name for herself in the indie music world with her experimental music, hazy angelic voice, and unbound creativity. She gained fans for her unapologetic, raw, and politically outspoken persona. She embodied this picture of like this radical, intersectional, socialist, feminist, heroin chic Tumblr girl. Something like that. She posed with the Communist Manifesto for the paparazzi just to mess with them. Now, she represents a newly emerging movement of ideals that are extremely concerning and unnerving. Her closest circle has been populated by some very scary and very influential people. She spends way too much time on various alt accounts, shit posting, or more specifically, schizo posting on Twitter, and she posts some things that will absolutely shock you. This video won't be boring, and I'm not trying to cancel anybody, not that I have the power to do that anyway, so let's go. Like every good story does, we're going to start at the beginning. Grimes' real name is Claire Boucher. She was born in Vancouver in British Columbia on March 17, 1988, to her mother, a former Crown prosecutor, and her father, a former banker who now works in biotech. She was actually raised Catholic and went to Catholic school, so I definitely don't envy her for that. Godspeed, girl. In 2007, she started college at McGill University, and she was studying neuroscience and Russian language, so like, what a combination. I guess she was going to be a Russian neuroscientist. That same year was when she started using the pseudonym Grimes. So she had a MySpace page back in the day. And MySpace would let you, if you were a musical artist, you could pick 3 genres to feature on your page. So she just put grime for all 3 of her like featured genres. And then after that, the word just kind of stuck, and she felt like it represented her brand adequately enough, and then she became Grimes. So the beginning of 2010 marked the beginning of her official music career. She released her debut album called Getty Primes, and then later that year, her second album called Halfaxa. She, at this point, was still only known locally around Montreal. The next year was a whirlwind. She released more songs with collaborators like Dark Bloom. She opened up for major artists on their North American tours. It seemed like she was really about to take off, and she was. More people than she could have ever expected absolutely loved her debut. She was getting positive reception from her songs and her touring, and by 2012, she had released her 3rd studio album called Visions, and she signed with the record label 4AD. The Visions album was a huge hit. It was her breakout album. She was on the cutting edge of like really making it in the music world, which is not an easy thing to do, okay? Her album's second single was called Oblivion, and this was actually named the best song of 2012 by Pitchfork. This was obviously so exciting for her, I would assume, and she was finally able to like express herself in such a unique way, and people absolutely loved it. She had this like cyber, cutting edge, high tech, like weird girl, artsy art girl vibe, you know? But it was awesome, it was cool, it was something people hadn't seen before. So she was able to express herself in this unique way, people loved it, and they connected to it the same way that she did. She was so famous at this point, she even went on Jimmy Fallon and performed on Jimmy Fallon, which is on everyone's bucket list. In April 2013, she posted a written statement about her experience as a female musician, and it was about how she was in this industry that was rife with sexism, and how anytime she was trying to express like a feminist stance, it was taken as being like anti-male, which it was never supposed to be. Feminist doesn't mean anti-male, but I don't know if she agrees with that anymore, we'll see. But this was the Grimes that young women saw themselves in. She was inspirational and soft-spoken, and she just seemed so sweet. Like, she just seemed like a genuinely such a sweet person. She was a little weird, a little awkward, but wild and free and lovable as hell. Then came her Art Angels era, which was my personal favorite. So actually, there was a song that was written for Rihanna But Rihanna turned it down, and Grimes took this discarded track and made it her own. It was called Go, and she really shined through with this song. People loved it. Loved it. So Rihanna missed out on that one. Rolling Stone ranked her song at number 14 on their best songs of 2014. She had developed a totally solid fan base at this point who appreciated her and absolutely loved everything about her. Her style, her voices, her music, her like cyber pseudo-edgy vibe. It was all the rage in 2014. This is when she started working on directing her own video for her new song called Reality. And this had came from an abandoned album concept that she'd decided against and then kind of came back to and was like, wait, this is cool, I could do something with this. So the video was so well done, and mostly it was nothing like anyone had seen before in music at this time. It stood out, it was unique, it was different. Nowadays, we'd look at that and we'd say, yeah, cool music video. But back at the time in 2014, we were seeing flower crowns, Tumblr girls, black and white filters, bows in your hair, and there was just a very specific vibe of music at that time, pop music, right? That she didn't fit into. She was somewhere on the outskirts of pop, like the outskirts of mainstream, and our audience obviously loved that. The bridge between acceptability and weirdness, I think we all felt like we were kind of also on that bridge with her, where you just don't really fit any much anywhere, so we kind of just, you relate to her, right? I think everyone related to her a lot at this point. So she was on the rise, and collaborating with major artists, and touring all over the world, including with Lana Del Rey at the peak of her flower crown era. That's a big deal, okay? That's a big deal. This was before Waffle House. She was also playing huge festivals like Lollapalooza. On October 26th of 2015, Grimes released her lead single on her upcoming album called Flesh Without Blood. And this song was fucking amazing, but unfortunately it was this song that would set her path in stone. It was the beginning of the end of who Grimes was. The free, wild, beautiful, untamable spirit. It was about to all come crashing down. In a very weird way, though. All was well for a couple years, though, before this song would really cement its value in her life. And it would all start with Twitter, now X, for some reason. There was a little something in her song, Flesh Without Blood, that got the attention of one very notable entrepreneur, one very special boy. The song goes, "It's nice that you say you like me, but only conditionally. Your voice, it had the perfect flow. It got lost when you gave it up, though, because you want money and you want fame." Which is something of a premonition of what was to come for Claire. In the music video for this song, there was a character named Rococo's Basilic. This is a reference to Rocco's Basilic. And bear with me, guys, because we're about to go down a really quick little rabbit hole. Come with me, come with me. So Rocco's Basilic is considered the most terrifying thought experiment of all time. It was originally posted on Less Wrong, but was quickly banned completely from the site after giving multiple people nightmares and inducing mental breakdowns. It was banned for being an info hazard, and an info hazard is information that is harmful just by you knowing about it. So there are actually two types of info hazards. There's info that's a hazard to others, and then there's info that's a hazard to you, to yourself. For example, if you know how to construct an extremely deadly nuclear bomb, that would be an info hazard to others. The information that you know presents a danger and a hazard to others. On the other hand, if you, for instance, just took a test on 23andMe and found out your dad isn't your real dad, but you love like your dad, so this is just the biggest mess, now it's causing all this anxiety and stress, you would have just been better off never knowing. That's an info hazard to you. It's information that causes you anxiety, stress, negative things, right? Well, Rocco's Basilic is an info hazard, and it basically goes like this. A very smart superintelligence that will exist in the future will torture anyone from the past who refused to help build it, anyone who knew about it, but didn't contribute to help bring it into existence. Now, why would it do this, right? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The threat of eternal torture and torment that may or may not take place in the future is enough of an incentive to motivate you right now to work to build the machine. Because, would you want to risk it? Do you want to risk being re-simulated in the future and tortured for all of eternity? Probably not, right? It's kind of similar to Christianity in a sense, right? The threat of going to hell is enough to influence you to live your life by following the rules of God. It's sort of similar to that, right? Because in order to protect yourself from eternal damnation, you need to follow the rules of God and live your life by the word of God, right? Well, for the basilic, you kind of follow the rules of the basilic, and you work to build it. in order to save yourself from eternal torture that it could inflict on you. So now it's managed to get a large number of humans in the present day working to achieve the goals of a future entity. It has managed to retroactively, through time, get you to build it. By building it, though, you're making the threat into a real possibility. If no one took the threat seriously and worked to build the machine capable of inflicting this torture, then there would never be a machine built to torture you in the first place. So you'd be fine. But if you take the threat as a real possibility and then work to build the machine, now you have engineered and built your enemy. You've created the thing that can destroy you, all because it threatened to, if you didn't create it. But now the thing that can kill you is existing and walking around and likely going to inflict said torture upon you. But it doesn't really, I mean, at that point though, it doesn't really need to. It's already been built. Unless it wanted to like retroactively, so for instance, say it was a really good machine. Say it was a nice machine. We get lucky, right? It's a friendly one. If it's a friendly superintelligence, let's say that it's capable of saving so many lives, right? It can save lives all the time. It is a total game changer for humanity. Like, we're so happy to have this thing. Well, the machine might rationally come to the conclusion that if it had been built a week earlier, it could have saved an entire week's worth of people from demise. So it might be like, hey, you know, I need to go back and torture these people, so they build me a week earlier. Like, this guy took his vacation days right when I was finishing up beta testing, and because of that, 100 people died that week. So he might want to go back and, you know, manipulate that engineer a little bit to save those 100 lives that could have been saved had the machine been built earlier. Okay, huge rabbit hole, huge tangent there, but relevant, I think, because if we aren't talking about AI, we aren't talking about Grimes. So either way, the character in Grimes' Flesh Without Blood music video was named Rococo's Basilic, which is a play on words and a reference to Rocco's Basilic. This reference to this like super niche and obscure tech idea caught the attention of everyone's favorite billionaire, Elon Musk. And this was notable because he was the first person since the song was released 3 years ago to get the reference. They connected over this on Twitter and quickly started getting along really well. They bonded over the ideas of future artificial intelligence overlords and pseudo-edgy tech legends. Elon then invited Claire to fly up to Fremont and visit his factory. Nothing like a romantic tour of your factory. The date of any girl's dreams. Grimes said, or Claire Grimes, same thing. She said, we just walked the floor all night and I watched him try to fix things. The next night, he did a little bit better on the date ideas and he took her to dinner. Awesome. While driving to the restaurant, though, he tried to impress the beautiful cyber goddess sitting next to him by showing her how fast his car could accelerate. And then, because he's a bad boy, he took his hands off the steering wheel, covered his eyes, and let her experience the wonders of his car's autopilot feature. She was enthralled. She said, I was like, oh shit guys, this is fucking crazy. The car was signaling and changing lanes and moving all by itself. It felt like a scene out of a Marvel movie. So at this point, I mean, she was already completely, absolutely infatuated with Elon in this adorable puppy love fashion, right? He carved EM plus CB on the wall of the restaurant, and she was without a doubt falling for him. They had so much in common, and it was niche, weird things that nobody else got, but they could discuss these topics that no one else understood or cared about for hours on end and never get bored. He found her so interesting and so special, and he admired the free, young spirit that she was, and she was utterly impressed by him and quickly became addicted to the way that he made her feel. His approval carried so much weight. She compared his powers to those of Gandalf, and he returned the favor by quizzing her on Lord of the Rings. She passed with flying colors, and Elon said, that mattered to me. As a gift, she gave him a uniquely selected box of her collection of animal bones. They would spend their evenings falling in love and listening to war history podcasts. She said, the only way I could be in a serious relationship is if the person I'm with can also listen to like an hour of war history before bed. Nothing like dreams of old Germany. It was quite a cute little love story, but it was just the beginning. And as is the nature of beginnings, it wouldn't stay that way forever. Real life started to rear its ugly head and tarnishing the romantic dreamscape that they were living in. In October of 2018, she had secured a featured track on the song Play Destroy by Poppy. It was like a nu metal bubblegum mashup. Her and Poppy shared these like dystopian views on the artificially intelligent future, and it seemed like a natural progression of their careers to come together, collaborate, and make some magic, right? Well, shortly after the release, Poppy accused Grimes of bullying her while they worked on the song. She said this all during an interview with Billboard, and Poppy said, "I was kind of bullied into submission by Claire and her team of self-proclaimed feminists. We planned the song to come out months ago, and she was preventing it. I got to watch her bully songwriters into signing NDAs and not taking credit for the songs that they were a part of, that they should have had credit for, right? So she doesn't practice what she preaches. It's very upsetting to work with a female who's very outward about a topic, but behind closed doors, it's the complete opposite. It's actually very disheartening to people that are actually feminists and supporters of other females." Grimes didn't take too kindly to this, and she responded to the allegations on a deleted Instagram story saying, "Poppy, you dragged me into a disgusting situation and won't stop punishing me for not wanting to be a part of it. I don't want to work with you. You leaked the song anyway. You got what you want. Let it go. I feel stupid responding and I hate tabloidy drama. I'll delete this shortly, but I'm just defending myself. Would love it if we could all get back to work." The drama would settle for a little while before it would be revived, be brought back to life. 5 years later, in 2023, just days ago, by Grimes. So she took to Twitter and in a now deleted tweet said, "Poppy claims I made her sign an NDA and then spoke out against me, proving she signed no NDA. She claims I used ghostwriters and producers despite being unable to name one. She spread false information for personal gain, and that is cancel culture, and I think that is wrong." Side note, that's not cancel culture, but I'm not going to get into semantics. Either way, Poppy was less than excited to see this 5-year-old drama waking up for hibernation, so she went back to her Instagram story and she wrote, "Are we still doing this? 5 years? Triggered." Well, then it came out that Poppy definitely had some weight in her claims, and somebody was able to produce one of the NDAs. So we know that at least that portion of Poppy's allegations were true, and I can't see why she would make up the rest. It's a little insightful to see how quick Grimes had become different after just a few months with Elon. And I have to agree with Poppy, 5 years, like, you should probably just let sleeping dogs lie. But you'll see why Grimes was going back through all these old feuds later on, and why she was so quick to try to clear herself of these old allegations, even though it backfired, because they speak to much more current allegations that have come out now. So Poppy claims that Claire promotes this feminist brand but treats women horribly, that she doesn't practice what she preaches, and that she's a bully. It's all much more relevant now, though, than it ever was before. But nevertheless, let's continue. 2018 had to be a really hard year for Claire, I would assume. And I kind of feel for her here, because she was newly dating the world's richest man, and she was already kind of an outsider who never seemed to really perfectly fit in anywhere. So she now had this huge target on her back for being with Elon. Tons of people were questioning his decision to be with someone like her, to choose her. What made him choose her? And that led to a lot of hate, and I cannot even imagine how horrible that would have been. Because, I mean, oh my god, that would do a number on anybody's confidence, anybody's self-esteem, the kind of things that people were saying. Horrible stuff. But this led her to feel like probably in some way she had to prove her worthiness, not just to others, but also to Elon, and to herself. It was an impossible position to be in, but it was one that Elon seemed to completely disregard, as if it wasn't his fault or the fault of the company he kept. He knew he was a prize, and he wanted all the added confidence that came from his girlfriend having to prove herself to everyone. Her own fan base was extremely critical of her decision to date Elon, understandably, and so she was alienated. She had become an outsider in her own bubble that she'd carved out by dating this billionaire that everybody loves to hate. And I get it, I dislike Elon a lot, but let's be a little bit real here for a minute. The side of Elon that Grimes saw was probably completely different than any of the sides of him or the impressions of him that we have, right? I mean, to judge her for falling in love with him just seems kind of unfair in my opinion. If dating an asshole makes you an asshole, we're all fucked, okay? Moving on to the biggest feud of 2018, the one that really put Grimes into a mainstream spotlight, somewhere I'm pretty sure she never wanted to be. The whole thing boils down to Azealia Banks is not a very good person, and Grimes is not a very good person, and they're fighting over Elon Musk. who's not a very good person. What a time to be alive. Azealia is a legend of starting feuds. She's like, I say it like it is, I'm blunt, I call people out, and like, sure babe, yeah, that's what this was. She's like the poster child for those Facebook memes that say like, I'm not a bitch, I'm just honest. Well, Grimes and Azealia were planning on collaborating on one of Azalea's songs on her second album. Grimes invited her to fly out to LA and stay at Elon's place for the weekend. So she'd fly in on Friday, stay till Sunday. And then they could put the finishing touches on their song. So Azealia Banks agreed and off she went. Well, that Sunday, Azealia began a little bit of an escapade on Instagram. She posted a story saying she'd been sitting alone in Elon's house just waiting on Grimes for days. She said, I waited around all weekend while Grimes coddled her boyfriend, Elon, for being too stupid to know not to go on Twitter on acid. Then she had the nerve to ghost me and book me a first-class flight through Rock Nation as if she's big enough to send me out of LA. So wait. When was Elon tweeting on acid? Oh boy. So this refers to a Twitter thread that he wrote at the beginning of August announcing his intention to take Tesla private at $420 and that funding was secured. 420. Tesla stock price 420. I remember this tweet. And I mean, come on guys. We've all manipulated the stock market while tripping on acid, haven't we? Every time I drop LSD, I go out into the woods, I look at the stars, and I commit securities fraud. It's okay. This is why the SEC is always waiting at Coachella. It's for that very reason. According to Azealia, she saw Elon in the kitchen tucking his tail between his legs, scrounging for investors to cover his ass after that tweet. That he was stressed and his face was red, he was really freaking out. She also said he's not that cute at all in person, which is kind of funny. And then she kicked it up a notch. Okay? She said, staying at Musk's house has been like a real-life episode of Get Out. She said, I should have stayed my ass in New York. They invited me here to stay and said I couldn't bring my boyfriend. It was probably some weird threesome sex thing to begin with. And then she said, hold the phone. She said, the nerve of these crackheads to think I would put my fully human lips on them. Absolutely atrocious.
I'm not telling you the Nazis aren't on crack. The Nazis are definitely on crack.
Damn. Then the text messages leaked between Grimes and Azealia and also between Azealia and Elon Musk's manager. Azealia said, I've never stated that I was there when he tweeted. I was there 2 mornings after while he scrambled on the phone. Grimes was the one who told me about the acid-induced tweet storms. Acid at a kid's birthday party. Acid at the USC fight. MDMA, etc., etc. She told me that Elon gets the best stuff from a laboratory near SpaceX so that it was clean enough, and that they were into microdosing. She admitted this to me via text that Elon made a 420 joke. I have never seen Elon Musk take drugs with my own 2 eyes, ever. I have never stated that I've seen Elon Musk take drugs with my own 2 eyes. I'm a real-life Bond girl and would love to be the star of this trial, but there's honestly enough evidence online via my account. You need to subpoena Grimes. She knows way more than I do. Grimes is a very nervous woman. She will be easily interrogated if you make sure to push the right buttons and ask the right questions. She knows everything. How much of this is actually true? I'm not sure. I do believe her about the acid thing. Both Grimes and Elon are very large fans of LSD. Grimes, especially, is a very big fan of LSD, and I do want to put this out here now. It's possible she fried her brain. So, maybe that's why we end up where we're gonna end up. But just an idea. Not being mean. You can only do so much acid in your life, right? Did she really do acid at a kid's birthday party? Probably. So I think that Elon's response to this feud is actually the most important and insightful thing to come out of this whole debacle, and that's a large part of why I'm covering it here. Grimes said in an interview that Elon helped her calm down, and that what he said was, snap the fuck out of it, you have to be in a battle right now. Which shows exactly how much he absolutely loved and reveled in the women fighting over him. He likened it to a battle and encouraged his girlfriend to fight for him, even though it was abundantly clear how absolutely traumatic this was for Claire. He didn't step in to defend her, to defend his woman, to stand up for her. No, he wanted to sit back and enjoy the show. This clearly shows, in my opinion, how little he ever actually cared for her well-being, her mental health, her confidence. He truly didn't care about her at all. He loved the attention, though. He loved being the prize that was so great. It put 2 women in shambles and rattled the world. But no, he didn't care about Claire one bit. Her pain served only as an ego boost, and for that reason, it was worth it to him that she endure it. Because it showed him just how much she loved him, how far she would go for him, how much control and power he truly had, which is something that he was constantly reassessing and reevaluating. So Azealia Banks ended up eventually apologizing to the couple, and Grimes said that the incident was like a sad, dark thing. After all that, it seemed to be put to bed until it wasn't, because in 2021, 2 years later, Grimes revealed during a Discord chat that one of her new songs, called 100% Tragedy, was inspired by, quote, having to defeat Azealia Banks when she tried to destroy my life. But Grimes' use of the word defeat, as in defeat Azealia Banks, that's also a line in the song, this is pretty well in line with how Elon called it a battle she had to fight. Interesting and weird. The whole thing is so weird. Did she defeat her? When? I did not think there was a clear winner in that situation, personally. But the reason for that is because she won in a different way. She won because she got the man. So her and Azalea's fights really turned into a fight over whether or not Grimes was good enough for Elon. And this is a theme that would follow Grimes and haunt her for a very long time. Still does, right? Either way, she claimed this victory over Azealia 1 year after she'd given birth to her and Elon's first child. More specifically, she made this claim on July 25th, 2021. What's the significance? I think maybe it could be the fact that she would have likely just found out that their surrogate was pregnant with Elon and her second child. So the song goes, try me tonight, I'll defeat you in the moonlight. Witness your own tragedy. I look like a flower, but I'm a serpent underneath. Which might be another reference to the basilic. It also could be a reference to Satan, but I'm going to go with the basilic because the basilic actually started in mythology. It was originally a serpent, and if you looked into its eyes, you'd die. So anyone who looked into the serpent's eyes would immediately die. Now, it's possible that this had absolutely nothing to do with anything at all, like having the kids or being, publicly the mother of Elon Musk's children, carrying Elon Musk's children, and it could just be a coincidence. If she did consider becoming pregnant with Elon's child a victory over a feud with Azealia from 2 years ago, that's not very cool. That would mean the child was more means to an end or some kind of confidence thing to prove some arbitrary point that she got the man, which is kind of effed up, but I'm not saying that happened. So, anyways, back on track. After the initial Azealia feud, Grimes and Elon kept their relationship really low-key. People were speculating if they were even still together. That was until 2020 when Grimes announced her pregnancy. 2 months later, Grimes revealed in a Rolling Stone interview that Elon was the father of her child, and she said some very interesting things too. She was saying how their relationship had affected her career a lot, and not in a good way. She said, quote, no one believes me about this, but I just did not understand what I was getting into at all. She explained, not that I'm mad about it, I just didn't think it would be a thing. The shit that's happened with my boyfriend this year has overwritten so much of my life's work. She also said that getting pregnant was a major decision, one that she made based mostly on her trust in Elon. She said, for a girl, it's about sacrificing your body and your freedom. It's a pretty crazy sacrifice, and only half of the population has to do it. It was really profound to me when I decided I was going to do it, to actually go through with the act of unprotected sex. I'm just like, I have sacrificed my power in this moment. I have capitulated. And I've spent my whole life avoiding that situation. I've never capitulated to anything, so it was just a profound commitment. And I'm sure Elon came pretty quick after that. What do you think?
I think having a baby was a big kind of rebirth for me. Artistically, it just I don't know. Being a mother feels weird to say. For some reason, I don't identify with that word. Which is also really weird because he says Claire, but he doesn't say mama, which is so, I'm like, how are you? Maybe he can sense my distaste for the word mother, which I don't even know why I have a distaste for it because I respect it with it. I can't identify with it weirdly.
Which, okay, it's a really unique view of motherhood from the start, but I'm not judging. So she had the child, a boy named Axii. I don't know what Roman numeral. He says how to pronounce it.
I mean, it's just X, the letter X. And then the AE is pronounced Ash. Yeah. And then A12 is my contribution.
They instead of naming a kid, they named a Boeing. In September 2021, they separated as far as everybody knew, and that was until March 2022 when they announced the birth of their daughter, Exa Dark Sidereal Musk via surrogate, December 2021. Now, I don't want to make assumptions, but I'm gonna. I don't know why they chose to use a surrogate for their second pregnancy, but not the first. That means that either giving birth and pregnancy was very traumatic for her, or she couldn't have more children. She was unable to have more children. She would have been 33 at that point, so not that old, but it also seems that she was heavily pressured by Elon, who very much tied her worth to her ability to repopulate the planet, and who absolutely reveled in being able to take away this power that she verbalized that this was the first time she'd ever given up this power that she had. That would be in addition to all the social and societal pressures and expectations that are placed on women when it comes to having kids, especially biological kids. Sometimes if a woman either doesn't want kids or can't have kids, it can feel like a deeply personal failure. And it isn't, but it can absolutely feel that way, and I'm sure Elon's views on this subject don't help. Not to mention, Grimes also struggled with an eating disorder for a really long time, maybe she still does, and the changes that your body goes through during pregnancy and afterwards, and after, that would just add a whole new layer of trauma. So, anyway, in a huge, huge twist of events, she said, "Me and Elon have broken up again since the writing of this article, haha, but he's my best friend and the love of my life. My life and art are forever dedicated to the mission now." I would love to know what the fuck that means. Is he the mission? Is he behind the mission? Are they together on the mission? I have a couple theories, but I'll get into that in a minute. The mission, what mission? Okay, they aren't even together. And you're gonna say he's the love of your life, and that your life and art are forever dedicated to the mission now? They would continue to date on and off, and on and off, and they're still dating on and off. Not only does she seem to be totally under the control of Elon, but more so, she's also become a totally willing partner in whatever this mission is. So apparently, the mission is sustainable energy, making humanity a multiplanetary species, and the preservation of consciousness. But just bear with me, okay? Bear with me. There's more to this mission, I promise. So while we can say, yes, she might have been more of a recruit at the beginning, now she is a willing participant. And she's decided to dedicate her life and her art to the same art that she so adamantly wanted to be all hers, all for herself, just a few years earlier. And now she's dedicating all of it to a man? Who are you? She had also never wanted kids, and now she has two with a man that she completely trusts for zero reason. He won't even commit to anything. So she also goes to bat for him constantly, at the cost of her own fan base, her own supporters, and against her own best interests, to be quite honest. Part of the reason her fans started to turn away from her was because everything Claire stood for went directly against everything Elon is. So it made them feel very played and duped. Like maybe she was always somebody who only stood for whatever would get her the approval of others, and it never had anything to do with her actually caring. Maybe she never really stood for anything at all. And that only seems way more likely now. So let's get into the current stuff. I think it's time. On a podcast with Julia Fox, who is annoying as
and so people will call me like a techno-fascist or whatever else, or people think I'm like, you're a tech enthusiast and you've always been. That's like your brand. Well, and I agree. A lot of things have been mishandled. And like we're in this giant hiccup into a different part of society, like civilization, like that is
Culture.
Extremely unprecedented, and it like hurts in many ways. And it's very unclear where the ethics are and the answers are.
Well, the ethics definitely aren't with the fascists, I'll tell you that. Maybe they're with the white supremacists. She made friends with a very interesting person named Curtis Yarvin.
And they're like, my God, you're friends with this Curtis Yarvin person, right?
Who is somebody that she wished happy birthday to, and even handmade him an original art piece as a birthday present. What a great friend, right? What's wrong with that? This was a photo posted of a masterpiece that Grimes drew on a whiteboard, but either way you can see the caption says whiteboard art by Grimes at a party last night, and you can see on the whiteboard it says happy birthday Yarvin, referring to Curtis Yarvin. And then additionally, this was also, his birthday is June 25th. This was right around June 25th. So Curtis Yarvin goes by the pen name Moldbug. Mencius Moldbug, and he's one of the masterminds behind the neo-reaction movement, a far-right political movement that rejects democracy and favors an autocratic rule. So like a king, a dictator, no voting.
And then
And the consequence.
democracy's done at that point.
Oh yeah,
Population.
democracy. Yeah, remember my two no's, right? It isn't and it shouldn't be.
His philosophy, which he said in his own words, is something like Machiavellism, and is also deeply intertwined with the tenets of white nationalism. Here's what he told Milo Yiannopoulos. It's no secret that North America contains many distinct cultural and ethnic communities. This is not optimal, but with a competent king, it's not a huge problem either. So basically he's saying, yeah, look, there's minorities around, but if we get a competent king in place, he'll take care of that little problem of ours. Sounds familiar, right? Who does it sound like? Hitler. It sounds like Hitler. And Grimes would agree. And she'd go through with the birthday present still. So Grimes actually totally agrees, because when Lex Freeman asked her who she would bring back from the dead, if she could only bring back one person, she said she would bring back Hitler. So she can understand him better.
If you could be someone else for a day, someone alive today, but somebody you haven't met yet, who would you be?
Would I be modeling their brain state, or would I just be in their body?
You can choose the degree to which you're modeling their brain state, because so you can still take a third person perspective. Yeah, you can bring people back.
Definitely Hitler or Stalin.
Huh.
I want to understand evil.
Who would you would need to experience what it feels like.
I want to be in their brain, feeling what they feel.
That's such a Moldbug thing to say.
Absolutely insane thing to say. She then admitted that she has all of these fake Twitter accounts, these alt Twitter accounts, secret ones, right?
Yeah.
That for sure. I want to understand evil and like psychopathy and that. I have all these fake Twitter accounts where I like go into different algorithmic bubbles to try to like understand. Awesome. I'll keep getting in fights with people and realize we're not actually fighting. I think we used to exist in a monoculture, like before social media and stuff. Like we kind of all got fed the same thing. So we were all speaking the same cultural language. But I think recently one of the things that like we aren't diagnosing properly enough with social media is that there's different dialects. People are just like misunderstanding what the other people are saying. And like I just got in a fight with a friend about like anarchism and communism and shit for like 2 hours. And then by the end of the conversation, like, and then she'd say something and I'm like, but that's literally what I'm saying. And she was like,
where she goes into these different algorithmic bubbles, getting into fights with white nationalists, anti-Semitics, and self-proclaimed fascists. But then, while she's in these fights arguing and scouring the darker sides of the internet, she realizes, oh, we're not actually fighting. These people are just misunderstood. And she starts to realize that she actually agrees with them on a lot of things. They're actually fighting on the same side. The thing with Grimes is that she's on this moral high horse about being able to sift through the bad and find the good in everyone.
I think we need a better discourse. I think we should, the way I wish people would approach me in better faith, I approach everyone in good faith.
Yeah.
Like, I see if people are being hateful on the internet, like those people are mad because they want a better world.
She saw the good in Curtis Yarvin, and she patted herself on the back for how open-minded she is and how she's not all caught up with the woke cancel culture. You know, all these woke people, they aren't gonna bring Hitler back from the dead. So somebody's got to do it, right? She saw the good in Curtis Yarvin, she waded through the calls for extinctions of other races, and she found the good, and then she handmade him an original art piece for his birthday. How nice. Her even having Curtis Yarvin in her inner circle is concerning enough as it is, and I think that would be enough to prove the point, again, just by itself. But we're obviously not going to stop there. If he's in her inner circle, that's a place I'd never want to be. It shows just how far gone she is. But hey, don't worry, because when she does bad things, she's actually protecting you guys in another universe. So yeah, in this universe, she's vibing with neo-reactionaries, but in another, she's Martin Luther King. So we should really thank her for her work in that other universe where she isn't a racist. She may not be racist in a traditional sense, like I get that, right? But in the sense that she's supporting and following these types of people, she's an even worse type of racist. She's one who enables policies and movements that actively hurt people, all while posting pictures with her black friends. And then she likes to complain about cancel culture a lot. She likes to really brag about how cancelable she is. And I just have to say, all cancellation is the way that the internet can fire you. It just pisses me off because she doesn't even have the balls to own it. She just won't own it. Like, just own it at this point, okay? That makes it worse, in my opinion. At least Curtis Yarvin can admit what he is. How's that for finding the good in people? At least he owns it. That's not all, this is just the beginning. She also took this photo with Razib Khan, who has suggested, among other things, that black people are innately less intelligent than white people.
The black-white IQ gap on standardized tests, intelligence quotient, has traditionally been about a little under 1 standard deviation or a little below. So, for example, stylized fact is like, the black IQ is 85. I think it's maybe 86 or 87 now. And the white IQ is like 100. Okay. And so that means that the average black American is like at the 15th to 20th percentile of the average white American. And so this gap is real.
He talks about and writes about everything from foreign policy to CRISPR, and a recurring theme of his work is that racial differences are real and that they have a biological scientific basis.
Now the question is, where does this come from? What Jensen said in 1969 is most of the gap is probably genetic, biological, and means you can't close the gap. Okay, now that was a controversial part.
So it's not racism, it's science. It's not genocide, it's eugenics. And life is survival of the fittest, and humanity would benefit from being made up of only the most genetically superior races. This has all been disproven more times than could be counted, but Khan doesn't care, and neither does Grimes. There's nothing better than science that fits your narrative and confirms your superiority. And you're right to live, in a space colony after humanity burns to the ground. See, Grimes and Elon share views on technology and the singularity. Let me talk about this, because this is very important, and this will help you understand why she thinks the way she thinks, why she's become the way she has, and how it all ties into her super edgy techiness.
And Curtis Yarvin has this strange, theory, and then they went through sort of caricatures, not actually terribly inaccurate caricatures of my perspective. And one of the things that they mentioned, which I happen to believe is true, if you look at American history the way people read French history, which is they number the republics. So I think they're officially on their 5th republic. I might call it the 6th, at present. This is also the way America works. So actually we're on about our 4th republic here in America, because the
singularity is a hypothetical point in the future when technology and technological growth absolutely explodes and the world looks completely different than it does now. Her and Elon both lean towards the side of accelerationism. Accelerationism was created by Nick Land, who is another alt-right guy. He actually was one of the founders of the CCRU, or the Cybernetic Cultural Research Unit, back in the 90s, and now he's so hard alt-right. He's like real rough out there. He's also the father of the Dark Enlightenment. So accelerationism goes hand in hand with both capitalism and technology. The idea is that we should let capitalism accelerate and we should speed it up as much as possible, as fast as we can, in order to usher in its collapse as soon as possible. Because if we continue on the path that we're on, the system will collapse. It's unsustainable, the way that it's running now. So the idea is that we should also, at the same time, accelerate the development of technology as much as possible. So AI to AGI to superintelligences, let's fucking go, right? Let's just speed it up and get it all out there.
We are fundamentally different from Homo sapiens. I call us Homo techno. So it allows for actual evolution. The computers accelerate the degree to which all the other technologies can also be accelerated.
They're like, fuck it, build the machine. Remember? So the idea of accelerationism, only the richest and the smartest would survive. But that's exactly the point. If you agree with pseudoscientific claims of her and Elon's inner circle, then you'd have to assume that only the white and the wealthy would survive. if we can speed up capitalism enough to usher in and rush in its total collapse, because I'm going to be honest here, this is a side note from me, capitalism is not compatible with the technology that's coming. That's just a fact. Something is going to have to change because they just can't go together. It just doesn't work. There's not enough jobs, right? The idea is that then the rich who survive can build a more powerful, authoritarian, autocratic, top-down system. Maybe here and maybe on Mars. Who knows? You have to be able to afford to get to Mars, though, while the planet's burning. Thank you, guys. Then, the idea is you'd have a king or a dictator, and you'd have a pick-and-choose population. It's totally possible that she's putting all her eggs in a very specific basket, though. She might be betting her life and her art that Elon would be the most likely candidate for this new king, either here or on Mars. Now, maybe you think this is insane or I'm reaching, but I'm not the first to suggest it. Curtis Yarvin, Moldbug, suggested it as well.
So in that case, maybe Elon Musk is more the kind of exception than the rule. He's the unusual case who still exerts that kind of power.
I would say, both the exception and the ideal.
To basically, in some almost sort of Buddhist way, surrender any hope at power and just accept that we are subjects and that Elon Musk or whoever you're going to install as our overlord is the only human with power and the rest of us can just lean into it.
We're surrendering our desire. And one, without, bringing Elon Musk into the picture or whoever, you can think of this. It is indeed a very Buddhist exercise. It's an exercise in sort of detachment from desire.
He has the tech, he has the means, he can actually go to space. And I mean, she also called Elon Musk a leader and praised his old world discipline. So that checks out. And that would make Grimes queen, effectively, right? And who doesn't want to be queen and second in command for the upcoming monarchy of the world's widest population? Can you imagine Queen Grimes?
I have a proposition for the communists. So typically, most of the communists I know are not big fans of AI. But if you think about it, AI is actually the fastest path to communism. So, if implemented correctly, AI could actually theoretically solve for abundance. Like, we could totally get to a situation where nobody has to work, everybody is provided for with a comfortable state of being, comfortable living. AI could automate all the farming, weed out systematic corruption, thereby bringing us to as close as possible to genuine equality.
She also posted a picture with this group, with Landau, Cersei, Vocal Cry, and she called them the Elite Shiz Posters crew, and she commented on this and she was like, yeah, I brought my sandwich. I didn't know there was a red carpet. She's so quirky. What a weirdo. This bitch brought a sandwich to a red carpet. The fuck? So there's actually a whole lot more to this picture. This is probably the most damning evidence you could ever ask for. So are you ready for this? Are you? Probably not. So let's zoom in and you can see where they are. They're at an event for Palladium magazine, and it was the magazine's 2-year anniversary party for writers, staff, donors, subscribers, and supporters gathered to celebrate what has been accomplished over the past 2 years. Well, allegedly, Palladium magazine is largely funded by Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel is the largest supervillain of the alt-right, new right billionaire class, okay? He's the worst. And Peter Thiel and Elon, see, they actually go way back. All the way back to when they were just some cuties building PayPal. Now, I managed to track down more pictures from this event, and you can tell it's not really all that many people there. It seems pretty, need to know. I wanted to look a little bit closer at the pictures to see, who's in them, who is Grimes' inner circle, who's she hanging out with, keep that in mind. So I found this article on Less Wrong that's talking about Palladium, and it says, an article in Splinter News was released showing leaked emails where Jonah Bennett, a former Leverage employee who is now editor-in-chief for Palladium magazine, was involved with a white nationalist email list where he, among other things, made anti-Semitic jokes about a Holocaust survivor, says he always has illuminating conversations with Richard Spencer, and he complained about someone being pro-West before being pro-white / super far right. Then I decided to scroll down, obviously, and I wasn't ready. In October 2021, a former member of the Leverage ecosystem wrote a disturbing account of her experiences, in addition to revealing troubling personal experiences. She said, I experienced every single symptom on the list of post-cult after effects. except for a handful. She described worrisome aspects of leverage as an organization or community, saying people, not everyone, but definitely a lot of us, genuinely thought we were going to take over the US government. One of my supervisors would regularly talk about this as a daunting but inevitable strategic reality. Like, obviously, we'll do it and succeed, but it'll be hard. So with this, I think I stumbled into something that's way above the level of this video, and I also don't want to get murdered. Please pray for me. So what does all this have to do with Grimes? Well, it gets worse. Somehow, it actually goes a whole lot deeper. So the main guest and also co-organizer of this whole little shindig is a man named Samo Borgia or something. You can see him here giving a cute little speech, and you can see Grimes in the back over here, and you can also see them both together in this picture. Cute. So Samo Borgia is, and I'm not kidding you, an advisor to Peter Thiel. He's literally an advisor to Peter Thiel. He's written all kinds of shit that gets you on a watch list, all about dismantling bureaucracies, reclaiming power, just like big crime boss shit. That's more proof, I think, than anyone could ever ask for. And there you have it. She's at a cult meeting, toasting champagne with one of Peter Thiel's advisors. What else do you want from me? She spends way too much time on Twitter, whether on her main account, which is @Grimes, or on one of her many admitted secret alt accounts. Let's look at her main account first. So she liked a tweet by Spurgler Acolyte, who she also follows. This account is a neo-fascist and openly racist alt-right Twitter account with a very pretty Euro aesthetic. The tweet says, "Total Gaelic death. Kill Gauls, behead Gauls. Roundhouse kick a Gaul into the concrete. Crucify filthy Gauls. Defecate in a Gaul's food. Launch Gauls into the sun." Which is a reference to a meme started on 4chan. It's always a good sign when your meme starts on 4chan. The original meme was posted on Politically Incorrect board on 4chan, and it goes, "Kill inward, behead inward, roundhouse kick a inward into the concrete, slam dunk a inward baby into the trash can, crucify filthy inwards, defecate in a inwards food." So the tweet that Grimes liked from an account that she follows replaced the inward with the word Gauls and made comedy. She follows a lot of alt-right Twitter accounts, like @Cersei, @VocalCry, Landau, just to name a few. There are more. There are so many more. The Hellenist is another one, and Aella is another one. So she also posts, she considers all of these questionable tweets just shitposting, or more specifically, schizo-posting. Her and her girl group, they're just some besties shitposting on the internet. No big deal, guys. According to Landau, in ancient Greek, schizophrenia translates to schizo, meaning split, plus phrenia, meaning mind and soul. So in other words, splitting of the soul or splitting of the mind. Thus, schizo-posting translates to split posting. So I guess, in less words, shitposting is the act of tweeting by your racist alter ego. I haven't ever done that. You know how werewolves, you know how they like change into wolves when the time is right? Grimes and her girls, they turn into Nazis. Full moon, full Third Reich. One of them tweeted, "Girls who pronounce Reich as Richies." What a knee slapper that is.
You say a lot of smart stuff too.
I don't know. I think people mostly are like targeting you. I feel like I think people.
I think you're misunderstood.
I think you're misunderstood.
You know?
I think people are jealous of you. I think.
Okay. She also said in that podcast with Julia Fox that if people are being hateful online, it's just because they want a better world. And what? What? A better world for who? Exactly. A better world not for minorities. Not for us who can't afford to, play with the billionaires in their big old circle jerk. So definitely not for minorities. For her? For Grimes? Probably not. Because you're a woman, Claire, and you don't get rights in the world that they want. Whatever. It seems like she has capitulated, so. Grimes has also posted, "Will space colonization end Nazism?" But in a critical oversight, she posted this on Holocaust Remembrance Day. God damn it, girl, what? Again?
I say a lot of dumb stuff. So
above average, I would say.
But you say a lot of smart stuff too.
Alice Glass actually responded to this, and she said, in my opinion, if you're going to try to make edgy jokes, they should at least be funny. Go colonize the sun. Which is pretty hilarious. Maybe you remember, though, one time Grimes did try to stand up for the underdog, kind of. Like when Elon Musk eloquently tweeted, "Pronouns suck. And she responded, "I love you, but please turn off your phone or give me a dial. I cannot support hate. Please stop this. I know this isn't your heart." And I hate to say it, but that's exactly his heart. You do support hate, because that was back in 2020. I mean, it gave us all a little bit of hope for Grimes before she absolutely obliterated it, until she absolutely shot a rocket right into its ass. There's really no idea how Elon reacted to her original comment on that post from 2020. It's possible he was really angry with her, because he seems to be angry with her a lot. Seems to be a theme. He also has a secret alt account as well. What a couple goals, okay? In one of them that he accidentally exposed, he was pretty clear about how he felt about her. The account was cringy as hell, but he tweeted, "Grimes left the king of SpaceX? Her kids must hate her. They probably want to spend all their time with Mr. Tesla." And for him to say, "her kids must hate her," is so cruel. And let's not forget, he's tweeting this from an alt account. So that's just embarrassing. So he uses this to praise himself as king, which is clearly how he views himself, maybe his future aspirations. And he points out his various accomplishments, all while criticizing and belittling the woman he's supposed to love, publicly online, telling her that her kids will hate her if she leaves him, which is so manipulative and abusive. And this is just a 180 character emoji-ridden look behind closed doors. Let me tell you, the people that cancel Grimes online, I wonder how many of them are secretly Elon. I have to pose that research question. How many of Grimes' haters are actually just Elon? Whoa, okay. He has so much power when it comes to her, and I think that's why he chose her in the first place, because she was this wild and free spirit, but she was also in so much pain, so it would be doable, but the ultimate challenge to tame her. Could he assert power over the most free, wild, beautiful spirit he could find? And Elon likes a little challenge. And he could. She has this very weird savior complex. She'll show so much empathy to the absolute worst people, but fails to show any empathy for the people that are hurt by those people. The ones who deserve it. It's so twisted. It's so twisted. It's this weird, like, savior thing. I don't know. The woman who Grimes has become is somebody wholly recognizable to who she used to be. And I think she's let all of us down. And it's hard, right, not to feel bad for her. And I kind of do, because there's no doubt that Elon has probably broken her, or that she's done way too much drugs. And there's no telling what that's done to her brain. I guarantee you, that's a lot more carcinogenic than hormones. Whatever. Get it together, girl. That's all I'm saying. Get it together. There's no excuse to be a Nazi on Twitter. There's no excuse. You don't live and breathe alt Twitter accounts where you can be yourself. Like, if you have to make an alternative account to be yourself, maybe ask yourself, is everybody else the problem, or am I the problem? Statistically speaking, it's probably you. Now, a lot of these screenshots came from a very specific subreddit, which will bring us to our last little bit of drama that we're going to cover here. So, there is the main Grimes subreddit, which Grimes herself has say in, right? And people would post things like this. They would post screenshots of tweets that she liked, screenshots of tweets from her alt account, all kinds of very questionable things she would say, all of that, things, you know, that didn't paint her in the best light. And she definitely didn't take this well. So they would have all those posts be removed, taken down, then the posters would be banned from that sub, from the Grimes sub. Now, so they went and they made a alternative subreddit that's lightly moderated. It is still moderated. It's not like a hate kumbaya like it's portrayed. It's just a normal snark subreddit, of which there are many. Snark subreddits for all kinds of people, good, bad people, doesn't matter. If you're famous, you might have a snark subreddit. It's just kind of the nature of the game. But she really did not take kindly to this subreddit. She was throwing out all kinds of wild claims that there were people in the subreddit that were stalking her and threatening her life and coming to her house, and that one of the users who had posted a very detailed write-up and summarized so much information that was so helpful for me making this video. I owe her so much credit. Her name is Killer Housewife. Grimes alleged that Killer Housewife personally stalked her, doxed her, all this kind of stuff that just did not happen. And it's provable that it didn't happen, but she could not stand and cannot stand the fact that there's a hate subreddit that there's a subreddit calling her out. This subreddit is constantly just everything she does that is problematic is called out in this subreddit. So what's effectively exists online is an archive of every time Grimes has been a piece of shit. And she didn't like that. So she's cracked down so hard to try to get this subreddit taken down. It seems like it really bothers her. That's just the nature of the game, though. Again, if you want to hang out with Curtis Yarvin, if you want to hang out with these types of people, Landau, if you want that to be your inner circle, you're going to need to stick to your inner circle. You're not going to get public approval hanging out with those people, and the public understands, for the most part, how hateful and cruel they are, and that you, Grimes, rich, white, are the only one who would benefit from those people's messages, from their influence, their power, and their money, and you are sitting there trying to have your cake and eat it too. It ain't gonna work, I don't think. But anyway, I guess that's all. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this. I talk about AI and all kinds of cool stuff like that, and be safe out there, okay? Subscribe, please, because it would mean the world to me, and let me know what you think. Thank you so much.